think it's almost lunchtime, darlings. Well, I woke up extra fluffy today. As you can tell, I had my hair done yesterday, and I gave it a wash and a brush this morning, and the attack of the fuzzies has got me. So there we are. Well, I hope you're all having an amazingly wonderful Saturday. Uh, yes, I am now. I've had a sit down and a drink of coffee, and I've got over the shock of the grocery bill. Oh my goodness me, since last weekend. Yeah, do you remember how much I told you I spent last Saturday? Last Saturday, we spent £127.76. I went shopping today, same stuff, £182.21. That's an increase of £54.45. Right, the only difference, I bought one extra thing, right? No, two extra things. One of them was a kilo bag of coffee beans, and the other one was a box of beers, right? Now, the extra coffee was 15, and the extra beer was a tenner, so it's £25. All right, so where is the extra? Yeah, where's the 29.45? Yeah, I've done it right. Yeah, the coffee and the wine was 25 quid. Sorry, beer. The coffee and the beer was 25 quid. Ooh, coffee's getting spendy. Everything else, bread, butter. Bought some eggs because my milkman doesn't supply eggs. Can I think of anything that I bought differently meat wise? Nope. Cereal? Nope. Stay the same. Wow. Fortunately, I've been in a position where I can absorb that. But imagine if you were on a very fixed income and you'd gone thinking that you're shopping same stuff, same. Has gone up 54.45 in a week. Like I said, £25 of that was a box of beer and coffee, which is something that I don't purchase every single week. I couldn't afford to. Goodness me. A kilo of coffee will last my husband and I roughly 6 weeks. And the same goes for a box of beer. It will last us roughly 6 weeks, 8 if we really stretch, 2 months. And 2 months if we stretch the coffee. And believe me, we are stretching everything. And how far do you stretch this rubber band, this piece of elastic, until it snaps? Because that's what it feels like. It's a good job I'm self-employed. It really is. And my husband has a good job, which, we're very fortunate. We're really fortunate. And obviously the eldest is out working her darling socks off. She's a paediatric nurse, in case you didn't know, and she does nights, days, and everything in between. And they're always short-staffed. They're always crying out for more nurses. Excuse me. Been up early this morning, waiting for her to come back off a night shift and getting bits and bobs done around the house so I don't disturb her while she's fast asleep, because she's got another shift tonight. Goodness me. I tell you that the youngest is going to be 21 at the end of this month, but she's not coming home this time for a birthday because they're very close to getting their dissertations in for the end of year three. For some, it is the end of their degree, but not my daughter, because she was asked by the professors to stay on and do a um, a master's degree. They asked her to stay on and do a master's degree, and they like what she does so much. They've said that she really ought to do a PhD, and she's like, I'd love to, but I kind of need to also be working, and who knows what's going to happen. We could end up with a nurse and a doctor within the family. You never know. But yeah, they like what she did so much that the professor that she was assigned is the professor of epidemiology, specialised in bird flu, and her dissertation paper is Arctic terns and the effect of bird flu and their nesting um, practices. How's it affecting the breed of bird, the Arctic tern? Because that's quite important, and that's like, how shall we say, they're like the canary in the coal mine at Arctic terns. If we suddenly see a huge die off of Arctic terns, according to what I've understood, that's like a massive, almost like an alarm system going off that something is seriously wrong in the ecology of the birds. So that's as much as I've been able to understand, because I'm not a zoologist. My daughter is, and I'm not a specialist in epidemiology like her professor. But I've been able to understand that much, uh, which it's just an absolutely fascinating topic. Truly is. But yeah, back to this shopping bill. It's a good job I was able to absorb it. Flipping heck, an increase of 54.45. I wonder what it's going to be next week. Absolute shocker. I know, and I sound like, oh, yes, well, obviously you can afford to absorb it, but can I? I'm only like everybody else here. I have a finite amount of cash available as well. And it just seems to me that week on week, the cost of food is going ever so much higher. And I know we had an interest cut this week. Well, it wasn't a massive amount. It was something. Apparently we skirted round a recession. Goodness me. I know we technically call a recession is 3 months of continual contractual contraction growth. So, Rachel Reeves, I would not be breathing a sigh of relief because, okay, you managed to avoid a technical recession, but your constituents, the people who live within your country, you are our Chancellor. We look to you for guidance and for the ability to get the books to balance. We're struggling here, being able to afford food, to keep the lights on, to keep the heating on, to run the car, to get the business ticking over day to day, taking care of our children, supporting them through university so that they can get better jobs. Not everybody supports their children through university. Some children decide to go out and get an apprenticeship and a trade. Some don't even want to do that. They just want to do their own thing, which is absolutely fine. But darling Rachel, what I am really trying to say to you is, can we start to get the focus, and that's the focus, yes, back onto this country and balancing the books and basically getting some sort of semblance within how you're running things financially. Because at the moment, it's whatever it is you're trying to do, darling, it's not working. It would be beneficial for the youth of today if you were to put a work program together offering opportunities. Not everybody wants to go to university. Some actually want to go and get a trade. Some want to be entrepreneurs and they want to set up and do their own thing. And it would be mightily useful and very helpful if you could enable these youngsters to get the leg up that they need in order to get the trade, or if they're serious about an entrepreneur or being an entrepreneur like I am, then they can get better help from, I wouldn't necessarily say the banks, but a prime example, the Prince's Trust. That is a grant scheme, I believe, for youngsters to tap into if they have a really good idea. But it would be so beneficial if we could skip back a bit and go back to the schools. And instead of the schools just pushing university all the time and then forgetting to talk about trades, because sometimes schools can be guilty of this. But it would be really, really good and really, really useful if schools could also open the youngsters' eyes to entrepreneurships, being entrepreneurial. How can you make money? All right. And give them some sort of grounding within business studies, not just the legalities of it all, because which is very important, but actually fostering an idea and giving them the wherewithal, shall we say, to think about what they would perhaps want to offer or do. It doesn't have to be tech based. It could be something very basic. They might be really good at cooking, might be fabulous at cooking and baking and cakes. Right, just take that for instance. They might be really good at cakes, so they want to set up a cake baking business and they haven't got the first clue how to do it, because no one's ever sat down and said, darlings, this is how you do it. You got your incoming, your outgoing, and from that you need to work out how much you're going to be charging for your cakes, work out how much you're going to be charging per hour for your time, what your facility's like. Is there somewhere that maybe you could rent? Is it, your food hygiene certification, all the whole gambit, right? And if somebody just sat down and just said, kind of like, this is how you do it. Yeah. And then the young person looked at it and thought, ooh, do you know what? I could do this. And then you've got somebody that set business up. And guess what? When they get a bit bigger and they start actually making a profit, they'll be paying tax. So you've got some money coming to your into the country. See what I mean, Rachel? It's not difficult. And there are entrepreneurs out there. Not everybody wants to go to university. Not everybody wants to get a trade and become an apprentice. Some just want to go out and do their thing, like I did. And no, there wasn't anyone around to teach me. I had to teach myself, and boy, oh boy, did I make some dingers. That being said, here I am now, hanging on by my fingertips, but I am doing it. And I fall under the entrepreneur. That's me, right? And it might not just be cakes. You might be into cat grooming or dog grooming or I don't know. You might you might actually have a trade and you're a self-employed plumber or a self-employed electrician or a joiner. You know, or perhaps you might want to be a cleaner or a driving instructor. You have a skill. And if you don't want to work for anyone else, you might want to just fancy working for yourself and setting up your own business. And I just think it would be really good if schooling taught that alongside everything else, because that's the kind of skills that you're going to be needing going out into the real world. You know, I'm just throwing my two penneth out there, my dear, because I know you're in a pickle. I know that you're struggling, and I know that it's not easy balancing the books. Take it from someone who knows. It's not easy, and having to absorb 54.45 into the shop, I'll just absorb it a different way. And next week, we'll look for what I've got already in, and we'll take that out of the shop, and it will, you see, and that's how you call balancing. Yeah. Hopefully, I'll be able to do that and something else won't have shot up in price, because that's what we're dealing with at the moment. There's no stability within the shopping. There's no, like, Flora, £1.90. All right, it's £1.90 in the shops this week. What's it going to be next week? Who knows? A loaf of bread, £1.10 for a small white sliced Warburtons. Nothing fancy. It's a little orange bag, the toasty, £1.10. What is it going to be next week? I know we're dealing with market forces, but because of everything being so unstable, whether it be diesel in the tank to electricity for the lights and gas for the cooking and keeping the lights on as well, all that coupled, and don't forget the water bills are going up by £10 for everybody from the 1st of April this year. Flipping heck. We have to get a grip upon the finances of this country. We have to get some kind of control over the food prices and the cost of the electric, the gas, the water, and the fuel that goes in the vehicles. Right? We have to have some control. I'm not saying price controls, no, but I am asking somewhere along the line, someone has to get some kind of stability. If we start enforcing price controls, that will make it very difficult for businesses, especially if they are having to absorb the costs and they can't pass them on to the customer. And that's what's going wrong. At raw manufacturing, they've got no control over how much they're paying for the raw ingredients to turn it into what we need it to, end product for the consumer. And the manufacturers can't absorb the price because they've got their workers to pay. They've got to buy the stuff in, they've got to pay their workers to make it, and then they've got to ship it out. And they've got to make all of that work so that business keeps going, so you end up with the end product, right? That's business 101. And the consumer at the end has to pay for that product. Now, this is where you're going to have a problem real soon. The customer at the end is going to look at the price of that product, bearing in mind that the manufacturer has laid this money out to make that product, right? He's already paid his worker, he's already bought the raw ingredients in, and he's paid for that product to be made, and he's paid to ship it, right? Reflected in the price of that product at the end. Now, the consumer has two choices. They either buy it or they leave it, right? Now, if it's an essential product, then they have to purchase it no matter what. If it's an optional product, they do have the option to turn around and say, it's too much money, I'm not going to buy it. So Mr. Manufacturer has made a lot of this stuff, hoping that he is going to sell it in product to customer. Customer has turned around and walked away, and not just one customer, but several customers have turned around and walked away. Mr. Manufacturer now has got a problem because he's got a lot of this stuff and he cannot sell it at that price, and yet he cannot afford to make it for anything less than that price that it's going for. So here's your middleman. Here's the guy that's bought the stuff from the manufacturer, right? He's bought a lot of that stuff too, and he's laid out a lot of money for that stuff, for it to be sat there, for the customer to turn around and say, I'm not paying that much, I'm not having it. So this is where we have to have a price cut, right? So middleman cuts the price to sell it. He's making less money. Yeah, understand? So he's making less money. He's bought this stuff and he can't afford to sell it at the price that he needs to sell it at in order to buy more of the stuff. So the middleman cuts the price, sells it for half of what it's worth. Customer purchases it, right? It's half the money down. So middleman looks back to the manufacturer and says, I am very, very sorry, but I cannot sell your product at that price because the customers will not buy it. So I've had to sell it at this price, which means I've made less money, which means I cannot buy any more of your stuff, right? I will have to take my money and go elsewhere and shop from another manufacturer that maybe makes it a little bit less quality than what you were making it, but at least I can still sell it onto this consumer and still make some money, right? And he goes and does that, yeah? Meanwhile, original manufacturer is sat there with a load of this product that he's paid his men to work, and his women to make it for him, and he has no one to sell it to because no one can afford to buy it. He goes bust, right? All those workers are out of a job, and he's left holding the baby with the massive bills at the end of it, which is he's got to sort out. And that is happening more and more and more around this country. And that's because there's no stability within the pricing of the raw product coming through to the end product going out. I don't know how we're going to get out of this fix. I really, really don't. But, I'm glad I'm not in manufacturing anymore. Put it that way. I'm really glad I'm not in that job. Because that's a racket. It's an absolute circus. I appreciate the middleman has got to be able to buy it from somebody to sell it to somebody at a reasonable price. Right, if that was how it was across the board, everybody would be cushy and would be okay. But unfortunately, that ain't the way of the world. And if middleman cannot get it for a reasonable price from the manufacturer to sell to the end guy, the consumer, right, someone's going to get hurt. And it'll always be the manufacturer, because they can't afford to make it for any less than what they're making it for. Because okay, the middleman keeps buying from that manufacturer, but the middleman's going to go bust because he ain't going to be able to sell anything. So that's two people going bust. And then the final insult is that the consumer turns around and goes, "Oh, it's not fair. It's not on shelf anymore." Why is it not on the shelf? Because nobody was buying it at that price, therefore it can't be there no more. And it's a knock-on effect all the way through. And this is not what they teach you in school, but they should. Because this is business 101. Right? It's just how my brain works. Right? Because I've done manufacturing. It's not easy. It's a complete racket. And if I had my time over, I wouldn't go into it. Absolutely not. It's the easiest way. How do you make a small fortune in business? The joke is you start off with a big one and watch it whittle down. It's scary. It's really scary. And this is what I'm on about, where the food is concerned, because there is a manufacturer somewhere making this food. Middleman's buying it, and because the prices are going up there, he's having to put his prices up there, and the consumer is like, "I'm tapped out, mate. Can't afford it. Can't have it." And food's kind of essential. Without it, we starve, we die. I don't know what the answer is. I bet no wonder people are going like this. Their brains are ready to explode. But yeah, it's tough, man. It's tough out there. And like I say, for my food shop to go up to $54.45 this week, extra, on top of what I normally spend, ooh, it's going to make me butt hurt for a week. Truly is. Anyway, on that happy note, my darlings, give me something to think about. And maybe there's a budding entrepreneur out there that can find a way to get things to be stabilised. Oh my goodness, if you manage to do that, kids, you've just invented the Holy Grail. And I'll be buying whatever it is you're selling. Definitely. So good luck, kids. And let me know if you agree with what I had to say. And if you didn't, well, tell me anyway what you didn't agree about. And, of course, do keep your comments clean. There's only so many things I can do. And I ain't doing the naughty ones, which some people tell me to go forth and do. I don't know. If you like what I do, give me a thumbs up. And if you really like what I do, you can always give me a follow, my darlings. And I don't know, whatever it is that I come out with next time. Might be food shop again. You never know. Anyway, if you're reading fantastic books, and I do so hope you are, because that's really what I'm about. I love a good story. I do indeed. Yes, if you are reading anything extremely wonderful, do let me know, because I might want to read it myself. Take care, my darlings. Bye-bye.